over the last year, I really struggled to like talk about my situation.
Yeah.
So it's nice that I'm kind of at that stage where I can talk about it. Jason and I have talked a lot, and like I just needed to get to that point where I could like, I guess, just put it like, understand it all more than anything to be able to put it
Yeah.
into words.
Yeah, I mean, it was great to see you smiling last night because I think the last time I messaged you, and yeah, you obviously you sounded pretty down. It was obviously a pretty tough time.
Yeah, it definitely was. Like it's just weird. It's just an experience that I'd never experienced before. It's like it's the first time in my life that I've had something not go right. And like I've said this to mum and dad, like it's the first time that I've probably never been happy. And I think that's probably like a blessing in its own to say that. Like, like this one time in my life, like I'm 21 years old. I got to 20 without ever having a moment where I really wasn't happy. Like
Yeah, it's pretty good
that's pretty
going.
unheard of. So like
Absolutely.
it's cool that this has happened, because then it actually makes me realize, and like I think it's been a good time for me to like actually understand. Like I never really understood like mental health and like how important it all is. So it's really given me an insight on like what people go through and how people struggle, and
Yeah.
how to like be a bit more like, I don't know whether nice is the right word, but just kind of be more understanding.
Mm. How just talk me through, I guess, the injury and the surgery. Like, what's the situation?
So I had surgery in January 2019. Yeah, 2019. So I have funky hips is kind of the way that I describe it. So I have pretty much hips that are shaped in a way that I couldn't really bend forward into a proper aero position. And over time, my bones were kind of like grinding against each other. So I had this little lip. I have it on both sides, but on my left side, it was causing a lot of aggravations. I had a labrum tear, and I also had, because my hip wasn't functioning properly, I had 3 or 4 different types of tendonitis in my adductors. So I was dealing with a lot of pain and didn't really know what was happening, and no one could really give me any answers. So I went and had a consultation with Matt Brack, who's the top hip surgeon in New Zealand, and he kind of was like, if you want to be a professional cyclist and be able to do this, you kind of need this. And I think all of my support staff were all like, yeah, we just need to do this, we just need to get it done and go from there. So I had that surgery on, I think it was January the 18th 2019. Didn't really have too many complications. It was pretty sweet. Straight out of the ball, was on the bike like 3 days later, just kind of riding. Pretty much like I was like, cool, this is going to be easy. Obviously a little bit of post-surgery pain, scar tissue pain and all that sort of stuff, but pretty much got back into it pretty soon, and pretty like the curve that Matt suggested and that was going to happen. I had a couple of hiccups, but all was sorted within a week or two, and then was kind of pretty much back into full training, and probably pushed the boat a little bit too much. So I ended up going to America to race, or not to race, but to train with the team. So all the team were doing a 4-week race block, but I went over there not to race, but to train with them, just to kind of be in that squad environment. I had one training session where I probably pushed the boat out too much, and I ended up tearing my iliopsoas tendon and opening my hip capsule on my left side. So this is a kind of another mechanism of injury that I've been dealing with. So that's been the main problem for me at the moment. So not the surgery, not any of that stuff, but this mechanism of injury that I don't know. I don't think it's caused by the surgery, but I think it's just probably a bit of hindsight, like probably getting back into it too soon and being a sprint athlete where you put your body under a lot of power and a lot of force.
Mm. Mm.
So kind of it was like a big pull up, which then just kind of tore a tendon, and dealing with a tendon issue is one of the hardest injuries to deal with. And a lot of unknown. We didn't really know what happened. We were in America, we were overseas, not able to use New Zealand, and like no one really knew what was happening. So that was probably one of the biggest struggles. I just ended up having 4 weeks fully off to try and just come back from there. And then just kind of been dealing with an iliopsoas tear and an open hip capsule, which causes a thing called microinstability, which is kind of just like your femoral head doesn't really have any stability. So my femoral head, when I stand, kind of goes like this, where a
Wow.
normal one will just go like this. So it's just a injury that is very unheard of and very not common.
Yeah. And I mean, how had you got through to that point? I mean, you were up there, you were an elite cyclist. Like, how would you manage to get yourself with this sort of injury, this ongoing injury?
I think it's just time, like no one knows when you become an elite athlete, you push your body every day. You push your body as much as you possibly can. And I think over the last couple of years, I've really learned how to push myself into that red zone. And I think it's something that comes with age and something that comes with time, is that line of being able to push over than what your body can do. And I think I started to learn that a lot after Commonwealth Games, and I really was in that red line zone and was really happy with, like, I was coming home from training sessions and I was just absolutely exhausted. And for us, that's a good thing. We want to be able to push our bodies to that limit. But I was probably at that point where I didn't quite know how much to, like, that top level. So I think that was a lot of it, is that you push your body to this red line, and as soon as you push it over, you end up being injured. And I don't know if unlucky is the right word, but I was just unlucky that it ended up being a big injury rather than just something little that can heal over time.
Mm. And you talked a little bit about this, obviously this very difficult process where you've been rehabbing, rebuilding, you've been in the gym, you've seen, I guess, other athletes going away to competitions, all this stuff. I mean, talk to me about what that experience has been like.
Yeah, so it's been the first time that I've ever not made a competition, not made an event, not been selected for something. And it's a hard, I guess, pill to swallow when it's not the fact that you're not good enough, but it's the fact that you're not able. It's been one of the hardest things that I've had to deal with, is not being able to put my hand up, not being able to show that I can, not even being able to try. That's one of the biggest things that I've struggled with. Rehabilitation has been hard, but it's also the best thing for me that's happened. With being a young athlete, you kind of try and shortcut things, but this rehabilitation has really made me work on the things that I've been bad at, my core, my back strength, my little things that in the end will make me a better athlete. So I've been doing a lot of rehabilitation work that has actually made me a stronger athlete. And I think it's something that's going to make me better in the future and as my career goes on, because hopefully I'm not going to have these little niggles now. Hopefully I'm just going to be able to have, I know that I need to work on my back strength. I know that I need to work on my core strength, and it's been a good, year and a half for me to really nail and isolate those points.
And whereabouts in the progression are you sort of right now?
So I'd say I'd probably be at like 85 to 90%. I think it's the first time over the last couple of weeks I've just ended a 4-week training block where I've actually been able to hurt myself again on and off the bike, really enjoying a lot of gym stuff and a lot of rehabilitation stuff, but also just started with the on-bike stuff. Really enjoying being able to push myself on the bike, something that I've really missed and something that I'm definitely not taking for granted. There's those sessions where you're absolutely killer, and I come out of them absolutely smiling because I'm just so happy to be in that hurt box again, let alone worrying about how I'm going to feel tomorrow.
Yeah, just talk to me a little bit. I mean, it must be after it's been so long, and now you're able to actually get out and do what you love doing. What's that like?
It's exciting. It really makes me appreciate what I do for a living. Like, I ride a bike for a living. Not very many people can say that. And I'm really proud to be able to say that I ride a bike for a living and I absolutely love it.
And obviously with what's going on now, the Olympic postponement, I guess, how do you feel about that? That's obviously maybe that's come back onto your radar a little bit.
I think all of us athletes have a bit of a different view on it. I think the biggest thing for all of us is acceptance and is change. No human likes change, let alone athletes. So the biggest thing is just accepting that change and kind of planning around that change. So for me, I guess I'm one of those athletes that will benefit from the change, obviously because of my injury. And it's definitely something that I'm going to make the most of. I've got 16 months to get back to that level where I was, and if not, and better. But at the end of the day, I still have to be good enough within New Zealand and meet all of their criteria that the NZOC or Cycling New Zealand set for us. So really just working closely alongside them as a team and seeing what's best for like women's sprint to be lining up at that games, and where we are as a collective for women's sprint, let alone myself. So I'm really looking forward to these 16 months as a women's sprint team, and really looking forward to, we've got 6 female carded athletes looked after by Cycling New Zealand. And that's huge for us, to have 6 women that are really fighting for that spot is exciting. And I can't wait to get my mix in there and get my hands in there and really try and push everyone just to be better.
Yeah, I mean, women's sprinting has never been in this position before, has it? I mean, it must be you guys must be really pushing each other.
Yeah. I think, every sport does well with competition, and I just believe it. I believe that the more people you have in your sport, the better you're going to become, because you've always got someone on your toes. You've always got someone that's better than you, and that pushing is just what makes everyone better, whether it's as an athlete or whether as a human, because we all become accountable.
I love that story about why you decided to give triathlon away. Just was that fair dinkum?
It is fair dinkum, yeah. I think you try everything when you're a kid and little things just stick. Like, I have curly hair and I hated getting my hair wet. And that was just, for me, it was too much. I just had to get my hair wet every day and I hated it. So it just led me towards a different path. And I'm really happy that I've gone down the cycling path, because I absolutely love it.
And so what's sort of the immediate future? What are you up to at the moment?
So the immediate future for me is just getting through this 4 weeks of lockdown. The biggest change for me in this lockdown is no physio treatment. So I've dealt with my physio for the last year and a half, probably seen her every day for the last year and a half. So that separation has been one of the hardest adaptations for me. So just dealing with getting through this 4 weeks, a better human outside of it, but also getting through with no niggles and no upsets, really.
It was interesting hearing you talk about the sort of volunteering at a primary school and having that experience.
Yeah, so when I was injured, I dealt a lot with high performance sports psychology and life advisors. So when you're in a bit of I guess, I don't know, want to call it a dark place, but a place you've never been in before, you struggle to kind of find other outlooks to look at. So for me, I've always loved kids. I've always really wanted to give back, and so I decided to volunteer at a primary school, Cambridge East, and I absolutely loved it. I love going in there, and the joy that the kids give you is something that you carry on with every day. But I went into that school and the kids never knew who I was. So that was one of the coolest things for me, is that the kids never knew that I was a cyclist. They just knew me as Emma, and the volunteer that would come in and help them with their maths or with their English. And then at the end of the year, I did a bit of a presentation on who I was and what I did. And they were like absolutely amazed. And it's just cool to see that they liked, they appreciated me as Emma the human, not Emma the cyclist. So it was a really cool thing for me and a really good growth for me.
Awesome. And probably just finally, like, you've been up in Cambridge for a few years now. What's it like being a Southlander up in Cambridge?
Well, there's a lot of us, that's for sure. So it's quite nice, actually. It's nice for all of us to kind of, I don't know, I feel like all of us from Southland have this bond where we're proud of where we come from. And I think it's a real Kiwi thing, let alone a Southland thing. We're proud of our country and we're proud of where we're from, because that's who made us us, and that's who made me. And it's yeah, I don't know. It's a weird feeling, but it's good. Like, it's weird to be so far from home, but also feel so close to it at the same time. I feel so close to my Southland roots, and every time I see a newspaper article about a current Southland athlete or a current Southland musician or something like that, gives me this deep feeling inside of proudness, I guess.
Awesome. You've been in the gym a bit with Tory too, haven't you? So.
Yeah. So Tory and I both went through rehab together. So we've been lucky enough to kind of connect there, and it's been really nice to connect with Tory. And she's a very good human. She's a very good egg, and someone that I really like to have on my team, and someone who we're both very proud of being from Southland. So it's nice to reminisce about the people that we've dealt with and talk about a lot of things that we've learned through Academy, and then also talk about the times that Academy has helped us in the high performance environment. So yeah, we're both very proud Southlanders.
Oh, that's fantastic. Hey, it's been awesome catching up with you, Emma, and have a great Easter, eh?
Hey, thanks. You too, Nathan. Nice to speak to you soon.